Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Kurasagi here, back with another video, and today I have for you my build guide for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Let's go ahead and start with the build, starting with the first character you get, Maelle. So Maelle, one thing I want to say is I don't think builds are really a thing in this game, because I feel like there wasn't really a way to really build the characters. Once you got enough Lumina, build ideas would just like put on all the best damaging Lumina as you can, and that's the build. And that's pretty much all there's ever been. But I'll start with weapon. The weapon, this is the best possible weapon you can get for her. The best thing about this weapon is the skill where you apply Sciel, it also applies a shield, and on applying a shield it gives you 1 AP. Also when you go to Verso stance, it doubles the shields on allies, so it doubles everybody's shields when you go into your offensive, well, not offensive, but the Verso stance. It's the best weapon she can get. Shields in this game are very strong. It just allows you to just negate damage, and in a game where you're parrying and dodging majority of the time and you make mistakes, a shield absorbs the damage and you don't die, so it's really good. Her second best weapon is an early game weapon she gets, this one, because she starts off in Verso stance, so this is a good weapon to get early on. I think you get this from the tournament, if you do the tournament solo with Maelle at the pretty early in the game. Next, pick those. Okay, when it comes to pick those, I'm not really gonna go over it. They really don't matter too much. Like I said, once you get enough Illumina, you can just put on whatever skills you want. Pretty much you either want to prioritize pick those that have a high Lumina cost, so you want to save Lumina, or you're going to go with whatever the main stat is that the character is dealing with, which is usually crit, to make sure you get 100% crit rate, and if not crit, then speed, and that's pretty much it. Skills. These are the final set of skills that I ended up going for her. Last Chance, which reduces her HP to 1 and refills all AP. And it puts her in Verso stance. This is pretty much her bread and butter. Starting off, she's going to go into this, and then she could do any of her other attacks, usually going into Stenhelm. These names are going to kill me. This skill does crazy damage. Like the secondary negative effects, where it removes self shields and self applies defenseless, it doesn't really matter, because usually when you use this, the enemy dies. So it doesn't really matter. This is a good skill if you're in Verso stance, to stay in Verso stance. It also can break, so it's really good to have. Breaking rules, good skill to remove shields from enemies that have shields, and if you have multiple enemies that have shields, it's pretty much a must-have. This skill, just good AoE damage. These three skills on the side you don't really get until the end game, so I mean, until you have something, you just want to put on the highest AoE damage you have in this spot, pretty much. And a way to apply burn. This is another later skill that she gets that allows her to apply burn. As you can see, her attributes at the top right. First thing you always want to focus on with every character in the game is agility. Start off max out agility, then second stat, whatever the main stat of your weapon is, typically is what you want to go for. And then your secondary stat for your weapon to increase your damage. Vitality, luck, you don't really need that. Luck is crit, but once you have the right pictos, you can 100% crit all the time, so it doesn't matter. Vitality, you don't need vitality because everything dies in one turn in this game. As far as Illumina builds, you're going to see a lot of the same things on all of my characters. So there are the favorites here, and pretty much you see anything I have starred are all universally strong skills to put on your characters. I'm gonna go over this once, I guess, with her, and then not do this again with everybody else, except for characters that have very specific builds. Age of Shields gives you shield when you're revived. Death's Door, increase your damage. Pretty much any skill that will increase your damage, you're probably going to have on this build, or every character's build, to be honest. Augmented first attack, increase your damage by 50% on your first attack. Auto Rush, you start off with Rush. This is really good because this triggers her weapon, which puts shields on you, and yeah, and it also increases your speed, which allows you to attack burst and faster. Burn Affinity, increase damage to burn target. Cheater, this is a must-have once you get it. You get this from fighting Strong, or whatever his name is. It's in the water. You'll know him when you see him. It costs 40, so it's a very expensive skill to have. It allows you to play twice. Also, any of the skills that allow you to play twice does not stack with this. You can only play twice once. So any attack that you have that will allow you to go again, this will not stack with the cheater Lumina. And then we have Competent Fighter. You can't heal, increase your damage by 30%. Again, when you're one-shotting, you don't really matter. Crit moments. Increase your crit chance if your HP is below 30%, which with her skill, she puts her HP at 1. So that's why we have these skills on here, because it pretty much maxes out her crit rate. As you can see, crit rate is 99, so it doesn't matter that much. But yeah. Energizing starts are always good pluses to have, but with Maelle specifically, her skill maxes out her AP anyways, so she doesn't really need these. Energizing Master is obviously better than all of them, and then you take Energizing Master for most characters, and then you would start with the lowest costing Energizing Start and just keep tacking on until you have enough AP to do whatever you need to do on your first turn. First Offensive, increase damage dealt and taken by 50%. Greater Powerful, so when you're powerful, it's even stronger. Greater Rush, when you rush, it's even stronger. Glass Cannon, do more damage, take more damage. First Strike, this is also a must-have. As soon as you get it, it allows you to play first. This, on top of having crazy agility, could usually allow you to attack way before the enemy gets a chance to attack. Immaculate, until you receive a hit, increase 30% damage. This is a must-have skill in Midos Res. I think you get this at the it's the place. I mean, do I even say spoilers? You go back to a place where a lot of people died, and when you finally get the ability to go back there, I think you have to unlock like the surf ability, Pokemon talk, and when you finally get the ability to go back there, there's an item on the ground that you can literally just run past the enemies and pick this item up and get this skill. But you start the battle off with +3 shields, and but it halves your max HP, which again, HP does not matter because everything gets one shot in this game. Inverted Affinity, it puts invert, which reverses healing effects on you, but increase your damage by 50% while inverted. A lot of times, if battles last longer than 3 turns, which usually they don't, this skill or this debuff can just fall off. You can also just cure it if you have the ability to remove status elements, and you will still have the damage buff. Oh well, actually no, you won't have the damage buff because you won't be inverted anymore. Painted Power. This allows you to exceed the max damage cap. I think you don't get this until after you beat the Act 2 boss, and I think you have the... No. This thing, yeah, it's from the final Act 2 boss, I believe, is where you get this. Obviously, allow you to break the damage cap, which is annoying when you're first starting off the game. Powerful Shield. It gives you increased damage per shield on self, so the more shields you have, the more damage you do. Just more damage. Increased damage while having shields, but receive any damage will remove all shields. Again, this doesn't matter if you're one-shotting things, but you can see what skills you probably want to not put on if you don't have the strength to actually one-shot the opponent. These are skills you probably don't want to put on. Next one, Salafying? I don't know. Plus 2 shields when the character's HP falls below 50%. Again, she has a skill that puts her at 1 HP, so plus 2 shields immediately. Stun boost, just increase the stun damage so that you can break the enemy faster. Survival, this is a good utility skill. You survive a fatal hit with 1 HP once per battle. Tainted, 50% increased damage for each status effect on self. Teamwork increases damage by 10% while all allies are alive. And warming up, 5% increased damage per turn, can stack up to 5 turns. This, like I said, usually turns don't last that long, but if they do, hey, more damage. And there are some other skills that increase your damage when you're solo, but usually those are not necessary unless you just doing the solo run. But you know, if you're doing the solo run, put those skills on. Sciel, her weapon that I chose is the Sadad. I chose it because once her start, you gain 1 shield if you have at least 1 sudden charge inactive. So usually you will start off with a skill that will give you a sun charge, so you will gain 1 shield. The other skills are irrelevant. That is literally the only reason we have this weapon on. I feel like shields are very important when you're trying not to die. Outside of that, her next best weapon, earliest weapon you get is, I believe it's this one. Yeah, sun skills always apply 10 fortify, but damage taken is doubled. Who cares? Your sun skills always applying 10 fortify is beyond broken. But I've stopped using this because there was a ability that she had. Let me go into skills. She had ability hard weave. Because that skill got nerfed, I chose to try to switch from this weapon and find something else, which the way I built this character is not for damage anyways, so I don't really care about the damage skills. I swapped out the card weaver for Bad Omen, as this is an AoE that applies foretell to all enemies per hit. It hits twice, so as long as the enemy doesn't absorb dark, it's pretty much a good skill to get. Delaying slash, obviously after you apply the foretell, you do your delaying slash. Typically I only use this when the enemy's foretell is maxed out or I'm in twilight to delay their turn better. Pentacle Harvest, this consumes foretell on target and gives AP to the party. This helps her be pretty much an AP battery for the party. Use Dark Omen to apply foretell, and then use Plentiful Harvest to give my allies AP. This is if I want to give it to everybody. Dark Cleansing just clears an ally's status effects and propagates target's buffs to all allies. So it can clear your status elements and then give whatever buffs you have to the allies on top of that. It costs 0, so it's like, why not have this on? Her bread and butter is intervention. It targets a player, which allows them to gain 4 AP and play immediately. You want to do the other skill, Fortune's Fury, first, which you would target an ally and deal double damage. So the way I have this character made is I start off the turn, Fortune's Fury, whoever my damage dealer of the party is, and then intervention, give them AP and allow them to act immediately, and their damage is buffed, and then they just kill whatever it is. Moving on to attributes, I of course max out agility, then go for whatever your next 2 main damaging attributes are. If you like this weapon, attributes are agility and defense. After that I go for might, because might increases damage, and the other 2 skills are not necessary. Of course I don't max out crit. You could max out crit if you want to. I don't care. I don't use this character for damage, so I wasn't worried about it. Lumina. Going over the Lumina on her, I pretty much went for all the universal stuff that I have on most of my other characters, although I don't care about anything that gives damage, but I kept all utilities. Lune, the weapon that I chose to go for is this one because of the dark stains that it applies. there's a 50% chance to generate a dark stain when consuming stains. Deals 50% more damage with skills per active dark stain. So this just gives her crazy damage when she has dark stains, but she has to consume the stains that she gains, and then there's a chance of a dark stain actually spawning. If you have 4 active dark stains, any skill you consume will deal 300% more damage. This is crazy damage. Get like the highest damage in a single attack in the game, next to Maelle. So pretty strong. If you don't want that, another good substitute that I found for her, this weapon, it has the level 20 ability. Well, the level 10 ability. On turn start, if no stains, 2 random stains are generated. So you start off with 2 random stains every turn, because of course you don't start off with stains. Also, the level 20 plus 1 AP when a stain is consumed. So this just helps her maintain her AP, but depending on how you build her, you probably don't have AP problems, or you have somebody to help with the AP situation. Her actual skills, pretty much, I love Elemental Trick. Once you max out your crit, which is pretty easy to do early on, it will generate a stain for each of these attacks, which will give you a stain of all 4 elements, which will allow you to go into your Elemental Genesis, which does crazy AoE damage, just nuking pretty much anything that doesn't absorb an element. Also, only issue with Elemental Trick, if you have an enemy that absorbs any of these elements, you will not get all 4 stains because they absorbed one of the elements. So it sucks in that regard, but it also does help you figure out what the enemy's weakness is. Other skills I go for, Stormcaller. This is pretty good. At the start of turn, you activate it, and every time enemy receives damage, they'll get struck by lightning on top of that. So it pretty much doubles all your attacks for all your party members. So it's like, why not? Hail, this is one of the strongest skills you get. Pretty good to use early on. But it's very costly. At 9, it's hard to start off with this skill unless you have crazy AP generation, and it just does crazy damage, applies 5 burns per hit to all enemies. It hits twice. It does damage if you fail the quick time event, but you shouldn't fail the quick time event. Also, there's a setting in the game to make it to where those quick time events don't show up, but it just limits how much damage you do, so you do less damage. Crippling Tsunami, this is a good universal utility skill to use, because you really don't use this for the damage, you use it for the slow. Being able to apply slow to the enemy just makes it to where they're just slower, so they usually don't get a turn. It's also an AoE, so it hits all enemies. So unless they absorb ice, it's a pretty good utility skill to use. Lightning Dance, this is just another good, her best, I think, single target hit in the game. 6 hits, also generates an additional hit for each crit. So again, this is like a crit focused character, which is why you want to max out crit as soon as possible. Other skill to have, I think, pretty early on, if you have issues generating the 4 elemental stains for the Elemental Genesis, is to go for Mayhem, which consumes all stains and deals elemental damage to the target. So whatever stain it consumes is what element it will do, and it could also break if 4 stains are consumed. So really good skill to have when you have issues trying to generate the correct type of stains, or generate 4 stains and you instead generate 3 and can't go into your Elemental Genesis. Attributes, of course, max out agility, then go for whatever your weapon stats are. This weapon was vitality, so I went for vitality, and then might for more damage. Lumina, again, it's going to be the same for most of everybody. You can pause it here and check out everything I put on her. It's pretty much going to be universal for a lot of the characters. Next character, Verso. Verso, This is the best weapon I could find on this character, and it's because of the level 20 trait where it triggers a lightning strike on crit hits. So every time he crits, it will do a lightning strike. Also, 100% crit chance on rank S. So as soon as you hit rank S with him, you will have 100% crit chance. So because of that, I didn't feel like it was necessary to really max out the crit. You could. It's just kind of like a plus, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you can't, it's like whatever. You switch to S rank on break, and your basic attacks can break. All this together makes this a crazy build. This is a good early game weapon that you can get. You play again after a basic attack, and that's pretty much what you want this weapon for, because of the way you play Verso. Overload is gonna do the same thing. Increase your rank to A, who cares, and refills all AP, but your self HP is at 1. It's supposed to be a negative, but with the pictos that you get, it's really a plus because it increases your damage and it triggers a lot of stuff to be at 1 HP. Perfect recovery, it heals and dispels status. Good to have in certain situations. Follow up, damage increase for each free aim shot this turn up to 10. I'll explain why that's so good. I guess in the demonstration of how you use him. Berserker Slash, which is I think the strongest hitting skill that he has in the game, next to the in-game attacks. But you can get this pretty early on and do crazy damage and pretty much one-shot most enemies. Phantom Stars is the strongest AoE attack he has. Hits 5 times. You usually just use this on weak enemies and just nuke the field. Don't even have to deal with them. In Bringer, this skill I usually never use. I just have it on there for like in a situation, if the target is stunned, you could reapply stun. So if that does happen, it's worth using. If not, it's usually not worth using. His attributes, you have agility, defense, and might, because his weapon scales off of defense and agility, and then might is just for more damage. Lumina, this is the character that is slightly different from the others. He has a couple of skills on that the others don't normally have. These are the normal skills you have on of my favorite skills. Then he has a couple of other ones. For the sake of time, I'm just going to scroll through the extra skills that I have on Verso's build. You can pause if you want to see what any of these skills do. But pretty much anything that will synergize with his basic attack, putting on statuses of burn, mark, increasing his AP, or that synergize with free shot, are all skills worth putting on. A lot of this should be kind of self-explanatory. Again, you can pause at any point to see what any of these skills do. Again, it's impossible for most people to have all these, but I have a crazy amount of Lumina on this character because this was my favorite character. So I wanted to make sure he was really good. Also, I will say this skill, the 1, do not use this skill. It reduces your max HP to 1, but this will not trigger those skills that happen when your HP is below a certain percentage, because it lowers your max HP, and you can't get your HP to below 10% if your max HP is 1. So do not use this skill. Monoco, the best boy. We pretty much have the best staff on him, and I don't think any other staffs are even worth talking about. This starts you off in Almighty Mask. That by itself is just amazing. 20% increased damage for each consecutive turn without taking damage, can stack up to 5 times. So this way he can scale crazy and do like a crazy amount of damage. I think like one other person has this skill on their weapon too. But again, it's kind of like overkill for this game. I don't know if the game developers really planned on us doing the amount of damage we actually do in this game. Skills. These are the best skills I found for him. Abyss Wind. This skill is really good because it allows you to play a second turn. And it costs 0 AP if you're in the Purple Mask 4. So it's just like, if you're in Purple Mask, you use this, it costs nothing, you go again. I think this is the only character I don't have the Cheater Lumina on, because I pretty much always use this skill at the start of every turn, because why not? Then I found myself using this and using Monoco to help AP in situations where my big attack dealers did all, used all their AP and they have none, or maybe they died or something. Just having this to be able to give 1 to 3 AP to all allies, and if you're in Blue Mask, 1 additional AP, I think it's just really good. Then this is probably one of the strongest skills you have, just being able to apply shields to the target, and if you're in Heavy Mask, it applies 2 AP as well. So give shields and AP to the party. Just really good utility skills. Then I have Chevrolet, whatever. It deals ice damage to all targets 3 hits and applies slow. So the main thing you want for this is the slow. The slow lasts for 3 turns, which is crazy. Really good to slow down the target so that all your allies can just kill them in 1 turn. This skill, I think, is his strongest AoE skill. It has increased damage in Almighty Mass. So usually if I start off the battle, I will just use the skill immediately, and just, if it doesn't outright kill them, it will apply 3 burn per hit. So really, really strong. And this is probably his actual strongest single target attack. It hits randomly, so usually only use this if you only have 1 enemy on the field. Increased damage if you're in Caster Mask, but even without that, the damage for this skill is crazy. Again, attributes, focus on agility, they max out your weapon attributes. Lumina, I believe he uses the same skills as everyone else. I was locked out of auto powerful in my first playthrough, but there's ways around it. Greater slow to also make slow stronger, so any character that can apply slow, greater slow is great to have. Yes, this is how I had to do it. I got a skill called Powerful on Sciel. So whenever you have auto Sciel on, it will also apply Powerful. So this was the way I got around not having auto Powerful, because the game locked me out of it. That's pretty much it. That's my builds for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. Any suggestions, or tell me about your builds. Did you go for the same thing, or did you find something different that I didn't see? That being said, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.